Hello class and welcome to this Werewolf The Last Warrior walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Brigands. This is it's very fitting considering we alternate between the human and the werewolf form similar to Jekyll and Hyde. Games are kind of similar in more ways than one. The point I was trying to make was, in terms of difficulty, a lot of this game is pretty manageable, pretty easy actually, especially with our tips. There is one stage which I'm going to go ahead and give Werewolf The Last Warrior, because of it, a 9 out of 10. On the frustration scale, this equates to writhing around on the floor, cursing in tongues because of that stage. I'm not saying it's impossible, that's why we're giving it a 9, but generally I handicap these games. If I'm not familiar with them going into it, then I base it on how much difficulty I have getting familiar with the game, playing through the game, beating the game. Makes sense, right? That's the whole point. But yes, it was all pretty smooth sailing until that level. I've grounded into the ground, running into the ground. I know it like the back of my hand now, but it's sad that that's what it takes to get past that level. I'm talking a lot about that level. Let's run the intro, get into the game, eventually we'll get to that level, and I'll show you how to beat it in this Werewolf The Last Warrior walkthrough here on Video Games 101. We'll see you on the other side. Alright, as we start a new game, this game is quite ridiculous. I think that's the only way to put it. We're going to have a lot of laughs at this game's expense over the course of this Werewolf The Last Warrior walkthrough. But one thing right off the bat that tells you something's off about this game as we take a look at the controls for Werewolf The Last Warrior. Any game where B is jump and A is attack, it's not a good sign. Hold up to do a super jump, hold A to do a power move on the attack, and then we'll talk about the backflip. But first, Gary.
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters. Alright, the giant head, we're gonna run into this guy a lot in this game, but the strategy is pretty much always the same. Just punch him at a distance, and then when you need to, when you're caught in a corner, just backflip after 1 or 2 hits, and repeat the process. Remember, you're invincible during those backflips, so you can transition sides or just back away from the boss in that case, but always some variation of this. Not too tricky. Good luck.
Thank you, Gary. Doc Lewis arranged that fight. That guy is much larger than we are. And there we are. Very fantastic item, which turns us into the werewolf. Let Blaze talk about it in a second. As we look at the Briggs notes, first, stay the werewolf. Being human sucks in this game. There's a power down which takes you out of... That's ridiculous still. Takes you out of werewolf mode. Do the backflip move to stay ahead of danger. We'll talk about that. And Gary's got the boss beaters. Follow those. But the backflip move, yeah, you just hold down A or B and then hit the other button, and that's how you do it right there. The trick of it is, if you do it, you'll notice the screen doesn't move. The screen only moves when you're doing a normal walk. So we can get to the front of the screen and avoid a lot of enemies. Enemies don't tend to spawn a lot of times, and just traps in general. We'll be using this as we move ahead, but first, an overview of the items with Blaze.
Alright, let's talk about the items you will pick up or avoid like the plague, as the case may be in Werewolf The Last Warrior. First, my item of the game, the red W, changes you into a werewolf. Look for these if you're a human. Scoop them up. This will top off your health, make you a werewolf. What's better in a game called Werewolf The Last Warrior? Conversely, we have the blue W. Again, worst item maybe of all time. This will cause you to revert to human form, or it'll just do 10 damage to you if you're already a human. It could kill you. It's just a nasty, nasty prank by the evil Dr. Faryan. But then we have the more conventional power-ups, like your small hearts give you 2 meters of health back. You have the big one, which tops you off completely. You have the 1-up, which is pretty self-explanatory. You also get one of these at 50,000 points. And then we have the small clear bubbles, adds 1 to your rage meter. Max these out and you get temporary invincibility for a time. Then you have sort of the red tinged bubbles right here. These kill all enemies on the screen, most enemies. And then you have the larger variation of this, which gives you roughly 8 seconds of invincibility. And you have the timer, which you will probably never need in this game, but it will refill your timer. You probably didn't even know you had an active running timer, but that's what that does. And then we have the bullet. You can fire one of these on your next attack. I don't even know why they put these in the game, quite honestly, but there you go, the items of Werewolf The Last Warrior.
Thank you, Blaze. Yeah, so the backflip really is the key move in this game. Not only does it keep enemies from spawning or just those lasers from firing right there, it also makes us temporary invincible. As you can see, I think we're going to have some laser beams firing here. So let's just backflip through it, and we're fine. And again, we're staying ahead of the laser beams. They're not firing because we're at the front of the screen. Pretty cool. And so is Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, the green slime man. Just beat him senseless. And then once he starts bouncing around, do those backflips to where you're invincible. Just keep alternating to the left side of the screen, back to the right side. I like this rather than just sticking in one side of the screen, as I find I tend to take less hits that way. And then when he comes back to his normal form on the ground, hit him one more time with your normal attack combos, and he'll go down.
Good luck. Thank you very much, Gary. Much appreciated. Just slap that guy around with our salad tongue arms. Or whatever those are supposed to be. Butter knife arms? I don't know. On to Mad City. You furry little body is no match for my... That's how I picture them delivering that line. You furry little body. No match for my strength. There, he kind of looks like Ron Livingston's neighbor in Office Space. With the hair a little bit, the mullet. You may find that avoiding trouble is as valuable as confronting it. Now, you might find avoiding trouble is more valuable than confronting danger. Anyway, attack right there, jump and attack. You'll get a temporary invincibility power up here. And then once that wears off, once it's starting to flash, just do the backflip move. Usually works better than what just happened there. Drop down, be careful. Don't fall into the sewage. But the backflip, assuming you can bridge the gap, it's a great move pretty much all the time. Just gotta watch out for pits. But as we use it to get through the sewage, let's go to Fluff for our first Fluff fact.
Werewolf The Last Warrior depicts scenes between levels in a comic book format. The game actually came packaged with a 20-page Werewolf The Last Warrior comic book, which plays out the plot of the game and is a helpful companion piece if anyone cares to know more about why this dude is a werewolf. Assuming you do, I'll tell you that it details the trials of Native American warrior chief Werewolf, who undergoes a painful ritual to master the art of turning into a werewolf. If a special token which does it for you is lying around. Dr. Faryan, the antagonist of this game, creates a chemical weapon which he launches from space and kills or mutates millions of people on Earth. Werewolf goes on a mission to defeat the evil Dr. Faryan with his salad tongue arms.
Yeah, it's not just me, right? Thanks, Fluff. Werewolf the Werewolf. Man, this is a tough world where they build brick walls out of people. Look at that. Brick wall, more like a Rick wall, am I right? We're good for a pun every 37th class. As we note that we are climbing this building right now. There's a reason I'm calling attention to it. But anyway, we've climbed the building. That's automatic. That's not something you need to do. The werewolf takes it upon himself. Watch out for the random lightning. Can hurt you, but yeah, you can climb up these walls with your hooky arms. Trying to be a Wolverine. Just dive to the left here, have a little faith. Go over the top. But I'm very glad we climbed all the way up here, up the side of the building. Because, as we slide over to the left here, because this. What is this game? Just flings himself off the side of the building. Why'd we climb it in the first place if we're... Anyway, Gary?
Boss beater. Great Ironhead. You want to punch him and then retreat a few steps. Then you want to jump and punch the stone out of his hand and retreat a few steps. Repeat this process. Just make sure you don't get too close, otherwise he'll come at you. If you keep some distance, he won't always charge you right away, but once you get stuck in that corner, just do a backflip, as always, to get yourself repositioned in the middle of the screen. Repeat this process like we show here. You'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, Gary's boss beaters are especially on point today. They're always good, but sometimes, for some of the easier games, or at least the easier bosses in games, the strategy isn't quite as necessary. The bosses here, they can all be pretty formidable if you don't know the specific strategy that Gary's offering, so that's why we thought to put it as one of the Briggs notes. Stalactite Cave. A fool such as you stands no chance against me. Oh, if anyone has any, normally we give you the answers here, but notice we just went from stage 3-1 straight to 3-2. It's like the guy realized we did have a chance and he just tapped out. If anyone knows what's going on here, as our caveman friend connects with us again. I feel like the developers played a lot of Ninja Gaiden, and you can tell from that kind of wide but short perspective, that animation right there. Anyway, there's two different ways to go in the cave here. You can stay high or stay low. There's a lot more pits and dangers in general on the bottom track. If you go top, there's a lot of enemies, so I like to split it up a little between the two, as you'll see, but let's get a Fluff for another Fluff fact while we're doing this.
Werewolf The Last Warrior was developed in part by Data East. Data East was founded in 1976, their first release being an arcade casino-type game based on blackjack. It wasn't until 1982 that they released the popular Burger Time that they had their first big taste of success. No pun intended. After a string of arcade hits in the mid-80s, including Karate Champ, Kung Fu Master, and Commando, which incidentally were three of the highest-grossing arcade games of 1985, Data East began to develop for the NES. In 1981, 3 Data East staff members founded Technos Japan as the two companies worked together until Technos went completely independent and developed huge hits of their own like the Double Dragon series.
Good call. Thank you very much, Fluff. As we're going back to our backflip hack right here, and now there's not going to be any more electricity as long as we're in the front of the screen. Just love little hacks like that. Discovering the guys with the guns. Thing is, they can't get a shot off on you as long as you move straight toward them and attack them, so the only time they'll ever hit you is if you hesitate for a second. So don't, just go straight for them. Again, I love the backflips. Assuming we can bridge that gap, like I said, all backflips all day long. Let's go to Gary a little bit early for this next boss so he can get us set up.
Boss beaters. Great Fireman at the start. Make sure you're ready to do a jump if you want to avoid some damage early on. But otherwise, get on the inner box on that right side. And then we have a very specific rhythm from here. Stab him to knock him back, and jump as he comes at you. And then the next time when he comes back on the screen, just hit him, you'll knock him off the screen. And then repeat that process. Stab him, jump, he'll miss you. And then when he comes back, stab him to knock him off the screen. Do this over and over again, eventually you'll take him down.
Thank you, Gary, giving us a chance at another no-hit encounter with a boss here. Unfortunately, this is going really well so far, I think you'd have to agree. Tips have been solid. We've had a couple laps at the game's expense. It's all about to go downhill with a very, very, very cheap, notice 3 varies, incredibly cheap level coming up next. The waterfall type level. Lots of pits, lots of enemies ready to knock you back. Knockback is kind of annoying. And yeah, it's easy to fall to your death. I've run the level probably 100 times, I'd have to say. It's that putting in your 10,000 hours. Obviously, it didn't put in that much time, and this game's not nearly good enough to warrant that, but yeah, I really do know that level pretty well by now, but before we get there, we need to have a strange and confusing, I guess better said, cutscene. Tell me if it's just me. By the way, seizure warning, good lord. They did not design these games with epilepsy in mind back in the 80s and 90s. They just didn't care. So, we beat the boss handily, and the bad guy wins. And then they kind of say, oh wait, we have another 10 grand in the production budget. Let's make another level. It's really weird. I don't know, some things about this game seem cool, but I take it all back because of this level right here, the thick forest. You must pass the waterfalls to gain the people's freedom. Sounds like a wrestling. Alright, here's our friend. He has a ridiculous line. You will need to find the new means of transportation to continue. I need not remind you that water is the natural enemy of the werewolf. Is it? Is it? Guy's just straight up lying to us about werewolves, which I normally wouldn't mind, except for the fact that we are werewolves, so. Alright, so just try to follow the moves that I make here as closely as possible. Get at the very edge here with that jump, as the little creatures will, if you go too far onto that ledge there, they'll knock you back. These guys, I like to wait till they float away and then just have a chance to jump on this floating platform a bit more easily. The platforms they appear at random spots every time. Not every time. It's tied into kind of where you jump. So it seems like we just had a lot of luck and things went well and that wasn't that hard. But all I can say is that was incredibly choreographed. And you should do the exact same thing. Otherwise, as soon as you play this, you'll experience why that's so awful. But anyway, very happy that we are past that stage. That's our job, to make it look easy, so. And the backflip maneuver is working pretty well against Big Head. Big Head. It's not Big Head, is it? I already forgot his name, but it can't be the same name as Rocco's neighbor on Rocco's Modern Life. Ed Big Head. Anyway, trying to use some of this once the anger gets maxed out. You know, we have this temporary boost and everything, and I'm trying to get to the boss so that we can actually benefit from it. But we gotta go down these very slow falls. Gary?
Boss beaters. Alright, the nondescript monster of Dr. Faryan. Stay on the left ledge, and then you want to chase him to the middle, then stab, retreat a little bit, and duck under that projectile. Stab, and then retreat to the ledge. So you're getting 2 hits in each time. Just keep this process up. Chase him back to the middle. Rinse and repeat. You'll take him down.
Thank you very much, Gary. I guess a second form will bring you back in just a second. It's kind of slow going here. Still don't think that timer's going to be a problem. Not sure why we descended down the falls so slowly. It's like it knew that I was trying to use my sweet crazy werewolf rage to make the boss pay. And that rage meter actually did mirror my actual rage meter for playing this stupid level. Alright, Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, in the second phase, you want to super jump and then stab and then just constantly move left or right so you don't have him fall on you when you're in those situations. But otherwise, not too tricky here. Always be moving when you're underneath him and jump, stab him, take him down.
Alright, thank you very much, Gary. Good call. We've managed to hold on to our werewolf this whole time too. That's nice. Don't want to jinx it. Yeah, this game is definitely a 9 if you try, maybe even a 10 if you attempt it without being a werewolf in the human form. Can't do a lot of the sweet moves that you can... Yeah, I hear that timer. We're gonna be okay. Can't do a lot of the sweet moves in human form. Or if humans are allergic to water as well, or however that guy described it. Anyway, we're getting close. This isn't that long of a game, honestly. It's only 5 or so levels. This might be the last level coming up here, actually. I feel like those little shots, though. I like that, you know, they're trying to do the comic book angle and everything. It makes it novel on the NES. Against me, you're worthless. Alright, we'll see about that as this guy spawns in again. Let's go to Fluff for one last Fluff fact about werewolves.
There's only so much you can say about Werewolf The Last Warrior, so I thought I'd end with some facts about werewolves in general, like they're creatures that feature prominently in various folklore and mythology across different cultures. Now, most folks, including myself before, assume that they just derived completely from European folklore, but in truth, these stories have been around in numerous civilizations, like Native Americans and Asian cultures, for centuries. Werewolves are typically associated with the ability to transform from human into a wolf or wolf-like creature, often during a full moon, and the transformation oftentimes is depicted as a painful and sometimes involuntary process where the individual loses complete control over their actions and their form. Now, despite what this game might have you think, werewolves aren't weak against water, but in many werewolf tales, silver is the real weakness and means of taking down a werewolf. Now, since the days of the Native Americans, Europeans, and Asians spreading stories and folklore about werewolves, they've more recently had a huge impact in popular culture. They're in movies like the Twilight series, An American Werewolf in London. They're often portrayed as fierce, primal, and tormented creatures, and oftentimes the storylines explore themes of transformation, identity, and the battle, of course, between the beast and the man.
I didn't think they were allergic to water or unable to. They don't mix with water, whatever the language. What's his name that turned on us by way of Faryan used? Like he was saying, forgive me, werewolf. Yeah, it's fine. You're very easy. All these big head guys are relatively easy. I think all that's left after him is Faryan himself. A couple gun guys. Nice having the extra reach too as a werewolf. Yeah, just don't try this as a human. That's the expert difficulty. Alright, final boss, Gary.
Boss beaters. Alright, Dr. Faryan himself has 3 phases. So, in this first phase, you'll see, just time the stabs up well, and you're like, wow, is this the final boss of this game? Hold on, gets a little more complicated. In the second phase, you want to stand just inside that right column as he's transitioning. He's going to come at you, you want to jump over him, stab, and then reposition as we're going to show in that second phase. And then finally, you just want to time your jumps, stab, and repeat in phase 3. Not too difficult if you get the timing right as we show, but take him down, and congratulations, you have beaten Werewolf The Last Warrior.
Excellent work today, Gary. Couldn't have done it without you. Might have been able to do this one without you. This is... I see he's in Rage Werewolf mode, but he doesn't know how to use it, is the thing. It works out well for us. Maybe he had a glass of water before the battle or something. Alright. We good? Be a bad way to end this class, although it'd be very fitting for this train wreck of a game. Yeah, it's not a train wreck, but it's just, you know, a lot of it could have been done better, like not trapping the player after you beat one phase of the final boss. Like the fight. There we are. Alright. Guess he had something else to do before he, or maybe just changing forms takes longer than we think. We take it for granted in a lot of these games. Alright, so, as Gary said, the strategy, do the jump, yeah. Love a good rhythm with these bosses. Nice pattern, just get into the groove. Takes a while. I'll take this opportunity to invite you to subscribe to this channel to enroll in this class. Here at Video Games 101, we do one of these classes every single week. We'd love to have you enrolled. Leave a comment, by the way, if you have fond or terrible or no memories of this game. Do you think maybe this is the first time you're ever seeing it and you're thinking this game seems kind of ridiculous? Or maybe you think it's okay, warts and all, you know? I'd be curious if the students who are not familiar with this game, if you want to give it a shot after this class. Let me know how you fare, especially with the forest, which really is the waterfall level of death, literal death. Let me know how that goes. I'd be very curious. Click that like button too. It really does help us out in making future classes for you. And this is working great. One more hit should do it. 2 more hits should do it. Alright. We are officially done playing Werewolf The Last Warrior. Good times. Battle has raged long and hard. No, it's a few minutes. The world has been restored to peace and the justice of a free world put back in place. All is well for now, but should the forces of darkness find a new champion, there will still be one who will stand in his way. Werewolf, the unconquerable. Unless there's, you know, unless it's a rainy day, I guess. There you go. Werewolf The Last Warrior walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. And oh, it's the best game ever. Okay. Just ridiculous. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video, and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.